get in back pay.
And an officer fighting for his job after a heated exchange with a teenager was caught on camera. We'll watch and see what happened and hear why the chief says the termination was justified. 11 Alive at 5 starts now.
The body of a fallen Georgia Southwestern State University police officer, Jody Smith, returned today to the Americas campus.
With only a few minutes' notice, several dozen people lined the streets of Americas to see the procession and pay tribute to Officer Smith. And we're learning more today about those few minutes leading up to the tragic shooting deaths of Officers Jody Smith and Nicholas Smarr. Ryan Kruger joins us live. He has the details.
Yeah, it was last Wednesday when a woman called 911 because she said that Minquel Limerick was furious. He punched holes in her walls. But in listening to her 911 call, she never thought that it would escalate to tragedy so quickly. We want to warn you, what you're about to hear is disturbing.
911, where's your emergency?
Wednesday morning, a woman at the Country Club Apartments in Americus calls 911 because a man she knows is punching holes in her walls.
And punch holes all up in my wall.
The caller, who we're not identifying because she's an alleged victim of domestic abuse, says she and the suspect weren't in a relationship, but they knew each other. She tells the 911 operator that Minquel Limerick was furious that morning. Her daughter was upstairs. She wanted Limerick out of her home, but he refused to leave.
I'm trying to talk quiet because he might be ill.
The woman told 911 that there were no weapons in the house. She didn't seem concerned. She nonchalantly spoke with her apartment manager while on the phone with 911. When officers Nicholas Smarr and Jody Smith arrived, it only took seconds for tragedy to strike. Several gunshots are heard in the call, which we are not playing.
Oh no, he shot the police. He shot one over.
The officer was shot?
Yes, and I don't know where he was.
The caller is hysterical. She runs upstairs to protect her daughter. She looks out the window and sees Officer Smith lying on the ground. Officer Smarr fighting to save him until his last breath.
They're not moving.
They're not moving?
It went on me. He was at my side. I'm trying to help him.
Limerick was nowhere to be seen.
I feel like that's my fault, you guys.
It's not your fault, ma'am. It's not your fault.
And funeral services for Officer Jody Smith will be held this Wednesday in Americus. Coming up on 11 Alive News at 6, an emotional story about how the man who gave his life to protect a town is still saving lives.
All right, Ryan, thank you. Developing about an hour north of Americus in Crawford County, 2 officers are recovering tonight after being shot during a drug raid. The officers were serving a warrant at a home on State Highway 42 around 2 this morning when the suspect opened fire. The suspect was then shot and killed when police returned the fire. 26-year-old Byron officer William Patterson was treated and released. Meanwhile, 27-year-old officer James Wynn still is in the hospital. He was shot once in his vest and his left arm. He is expected to be okay. Though it could happen at any time, Burl Ellis did not retake control of DeKalb County's government today. The county CEO became eligible to do so after the state Supreme Court overturned his conviction in a corruption case. We have more on this story as 11 Alive's Doug Richards is live in Decatur. He has more for us. Doug?
Well, Jeff, Burl Ellis's name never came off of the shingle that's outside of the Emanuel Maloof building in downtown Decatur, even though Ellis was suspended from his job more than 3 years ago. This afternoon, the Supreme Court of Georgia transmitted an order to the DeKalb County Superior Court, which clears the way for Ellis to retake his position anytime now. DeKalb County's government was already facing a transition, with a new CEO, Michael Thurmond, due to take office in less than 3 weeks. So Burl Ellis's potential temporary return is not so much a power shift as it is a curiosity.
You know, the trains will continue to run on time and all that kind of stuff. So nothing really changes, and since Lee was on his way out, it's just going to be a different guy in there for a couple weeks.
If that.
If that.
Ellis would return to DeKalb government because the Supreme Court overturned his conviction in a case in which a court convicted him of charges relating to Ellis's alleged shakedown of county vendors for campaign contributions. His return notwithstanding, Ellis is due to receive 72 weeks of back pay that he forfeited when he was convicted. Ellis made $153,000 annually, which means DeKalb taxpayers now owe him $212,000 plus. DeKalb County also paid interim CEO Lee May a comparable amount during Ellis's 17-month suspension. So if Burl Ellis were to show back up in his old job, he would retake that office for a period of less than 3 weeks, minus holidays, and there's a DeKalb County Board of Commissioners meeting tomorrow, and a lot of folks are curious to see if Burl Ellis shows up. Back to you.
It certainly is an interesting story how it all turned out. Doug, thank you. Meantime, a judge has revoked the bond that had been granted for 21-year-old Dontavius Montgomery. He's charged with murder in the shooting death of his cousin, Mays High School football player Marquez Montgomery. Family members allege that the shooting was accidental, but this isn't the first time that Dontavius Montgomery has been accused of murder. In January of last year, Atlanta police say that he stabbed a man after a fight in Southwest Atlanta. He spent 9 months in jail, but then was granted a $100,000 bond in October of last year. He is now back in the Fulton County Jail. But turning our attentions to the weather, winter has arrived all across much of the U.S., and it's packing a punch. From coast to coast, snow and freezing rain are affecting millions of people. At least 6 Midwestern states saw more than a foot of snow already, and now an Arctic air mass pushing south will make the already cold temperatures even colder by week's end. That brings us to our own Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb, looking at our own Metro Atlanta weather and whether or not it's going to turn chilly.
And we are getting to that point where holiday travelers are curious to know what is in the offing for the days ahead. Any sense of that yet?
You know, our travel plans have been altered just over the past couple of days due to that rain and snow that you were talking about, mainly the snow that has been up to the north and also to the east. You can see here on our airport travel boards, we do have delays right now at LaGuardia and also Newark due to the snow that has been moving through the northeastern area. Charlotte's okay now. JFK is looking all right. Boston also has some delays of about 30 minutes. Then we're okay in Philly, Salt Lake, Baltimore okay. Atlanta's looking okay right now unless you're going to any of those locations that have those delays. Detroit and Minneapolis yesterday had some major delays. Things have cleared out there now a little bit, so it's looking better. Cincinnati is looking okay too. So let me show you the radar image so you can see what we're watching here. Is this was looking a little more impressive yesterday with a wide swath of snow over the Great Lakes region through Minneapolis. They still have a little bit of snow there, nothing major though, but that has all moved off to the east, and we're seeing that snow that was over the northeast today, but that is all pulling out as well. In fact, northern Maine seeing what's left of that heavier snow that's moving up on to a Halifax area, Nova Scotia. So it's improving in those areas there with the snow moving out. So we hope that the travel conditions will improve as well. For us, we had the southern end of that system, which was the liquid variety of precip with the rain that came through, had a better coverage of showers this morning, mainly light stuff. We were telling you yesterday that the rainfall amounts would not be very impressive at all. Now we're watching a few additional lighter showers on the south side. Those are moving over to the east, too. We still have another pretty good chance for rain here during the day tomorrow. We'll talk about that and the cold air moving in and whether or not heading into the weekend that cold air and moisture will mix again. What that could mean for northeast Georgia coming up.
Chris, thank you. Now you can stay on top of the weather at any time or place as you plan your holiday trips. From Atlantic to Pacific, gee, the traffic is terrific. We
can only hope. We can only hope.
You can check out 11 Alive News.
We're not used to terrific traffic around here, especially during the holidays. A newly released dashcam video leads to the termination of a Social Circle police officer. That officer called the officer's actions shocking and embarrassing, the police department did. 11 Live's Ron Jones has more on the controversial video that's been released that kicked the 5-year veteran right off the force. Ron?
Yeah, that's right, Brenda. The police chief says that the officer pulled over a group of teenagers because one of them yelled an expletive at him, and then the officer challenges one of the juveniles to a fight.
When I first saw the video Friday, it was shocking, embarrassing.
Police Chief Tyrone Oliver of the Social Circle Police Department says he's appalled by what you're about to witness on this dash cam video. It's November 23rd in the afternoon.
It was just completely uncalled for.
A group of teenagers pass Officer James Sanders in this dark-colored truck, and then one of them yells an expletive at the officer. He pulls the truck over without notifying dispatch and begins to interrogate the driver.
How's it going? License and insurance.
Once he learns the passenger and not the driver is the one who yelled the expletive at Sanders, he pulls the unidentified 17-year-old out and then within seconds challenges him to a fight.
Why do you want the police, son?
I don't.
Why you say it then? You think it's going to make you a bad or something in front of everybody?
No, sir, I don't, because I'm getting fussed at right now.
You want to the police?
No, sir.
Well, here I am, right here, brother.
I don't want to.
Why not? You're a tough guy. Come on.
I'm not tough.
I'm giving you every opportunity.
No, sir.
Then why you want to yell about it when you're in front of your buddies right there? Is it cool?
No, sir.
You trying to be a bad in front of them?
No, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
I'm giving you every opportunity to me up. You understand?
Yes, sir.
After a complaint from an anonymous citizen and the chief saw the dash cam video, the investigation and the termination process began.
I'm not condoning what the teen said at all. However, the officer's reactions to that comment was very inappropriate, very unprofessional.
The teenagers were never arrested or even cited, but we wanted to know what if the juvenile would have accepted the officer's challenge to fight.
If the kid were to take him up on his offers to fight him, in a sense, then the officer would have had no legal grounds to use any type of force necessary to defend himself. Naturally, he would have to at that point, but on a legal standpoint, on the liability that it holds on not only the officer, the citizen, and the city, we wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
You know, we made attempts to locate the officer to get his side of the story, but we were unsuccessful. And we should also point out the police chief tells us that Sanders did appeal the firing with the city manager's office. However, the city upheld that termination.
Interesting. Very interesting story, Ron. Thank you. A quick-thinking sheriff's deputy is credited with saving the life of a 10-year-old boy trapped under a flipped ATV and turning blue. That's...
I need help here now.
That's Sergeant Ray Rodriguez you see there in the video calling for an ambulance, but he can't wait. He grabs a tow rope, attaches it to the ATV, and frees the boy underneath immediately. That rope is not a standard piece of equipment, but the Army Reservist is known for being prepared for anything. The video from the Bullitt County Sheriff's Office is being shared. Too much applause and praise to that sergeant. You can see the full video on 11alive.com. Wow.
Interesting video, Brenda. Cartersville police are searching for two suspects who stole one of their police cruisers over the weekend. The car was recovered yesterday, but the suspects still are free. Both were wanted for burglary charges. 11 Alive's Joe Hankey has the play-by-play of their getaway.
Well, the two suspects got away in a white Dodge Charger Cartersville police car just like this one. Meanwhile, during the chase, the police scanners offered play-by-play of the whole ordeal. Cartersville police have yet to release details on what led to the theft of a Cartersville police car, but they have named Rudy Vincent and Anastasia Earwood as the suspects behind the crime. On police scanners, an officer can be heard as the police car takes off. Dispatchers then say the car is heading south on Gilmer in Cartersville. Then details of the second person in the car.
There was also a female in the back seat.
Seconds later, dispatchers announced Bartow County deputies are now near the vehicle.
Well, I'm directly behind that vehicle. It's 118. I'm directly behind that vehicle. We're going 66 miles an hour right now, south on Tennessee Street. It's the older Charger, 4230.
We just received a call of a vehicle matching that description with its blue lights on, 113 towards Rockmart. We're getting inundated with 911 calls reference this.
Then dispatchers again announced calls of the cruiser seen on Highway 113 heading out of Cartersville.
It does have its blue lights on. It's driving very erratic.
Another officer describes confusion as more law enforcement joined the search.
He advised the responding agencies what type of vehicle it is we're chasing. They were looking at me like I was the one.
Next comes reason to believe the suspects are armed and dangerous.
There's going to be an AR-13 and a 12 gauge in the trunk, a large knife in the front seat.
Eventually, discussion of the search becomes less frequent. On Sunday, Cartersville police recovered the vehicle and weapons, but the search for the suspects continues. Joe Hankey, 11 Alive News.
The Make-A-Wish Foundation does great work, but you may not know about one of their biggest challenges. Still ahead, how one volunteer is bridging a language barrier.
And the Floyd County family lost everything when their home burned to the ground. But now they're learning firefighters were able to save one priceless item. Their story ahead.
This is one round from
Looking forward to Friday night because coming up a primetime special where we salute 11 outstanding volunteers who have made a difference in our community.
It's always a fun time when we
Yeah.
do that. They are people like Vladimir Guadalupe, who's doing some exceptional work through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Our Matt Pearl shows us how she's actually bridging the gap in a very major way.
A region of millions from the outside can seem impenetrable.
You see big buildings and a lot of people.
Vladimir Guadalupe
And we just started walking around that area.
knew she would be welcome in Atlanta from her first trip,
Save the tickets.
visiting from Puerto
So
Rico
this was their face painted.
to see the Braves.
One of the best weekends that we have ever had. We just came back to Puerto Rico and one day we just decided let's move.
Vladimir came to Atlanta with no connections.
I save everything.
These days, she inspires them.
Awesome.
Make-A-Wish Georgia
It never gets old.
provides dream experiences for hundreds of children with life-threatening medical conditions.
We have 700 local kids that are still waiting for their wish.
Officials like Amy Alvarez
90 of them are Spanish speaking.
know they don't reach everyone.
We do have a bridge gap in identifying people to connect with those families.
They found someone
That's Abril.
who lives to
So
connect.
this one is Brandon. Her name is Catherine. She's so cute. All of the kids are cute. Matt Hatter.
Vladimir works with children to determine their wishes. She works with their parents on the paperwork. And because she is bilingual,
Podrías comunicar conmigo al
she can reach more children.
He wanted a four-wheeler. This is what we tell her that she's going to Hawaii.
All with a smile and a laugh and hours of effort.
As a wish granting volunteer, we ask you that you commit to granting 3 wishes throughout the year. Gigi last year granted 18 wishes.
She's even on display on the Make-A-Wish Georgia website, dressed as Alice in Wonderland, surprising Catherine with a tea party.
Break my heart to see kids waiting for a few months. Right now on the sign-up page, there is a kid that is probably on the page since May.
Her current project is a girl with a similar smile.
This is Karen.
7 years old, battling cancer.
She's one of the kids that was waiting for a long time, and now she's going to Disney.
Here's what she does.
Get the drinks.
On her Saturday off, she makes Karen a basket with cupcakes made for a princess. Then she packs it up, heads on over,
I think we can just do it here, right?
and sets up a surprise to bring out a smile and much more.
Va para Disney. Sorpresa, mira.
In 3 weeks, Karen and her family will head to Disney World.
Completo. Thank you. De nada, mi amor. Cuídate.
Vladimir
Yo espero que la pases bien, ¿ok?
will go back to work,
It's just happiness.
making another single connection
I just love this city.
in this region of millions. Matt Pearl, 11 Alive News.
Wow. Just makes your heart warm. Again, you can see more special stories just like that one in our prime time special. The 41st Annual Community Service Awards airs this Friday night at 8 p.m. right here on 11 Alive. It is sure to touch your heart. We guarantee you it will inspire you.
I'm meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11 Alive Storm Trackers. We've had a few light showers early today and then a break in the action. Right now we're tracking just a couple of showers that are on the south side, nothing really major. These are just very light as they are moving in south of the city right now. You can see just south of Atlanta along I-20, a couple little showers that are moving through there. We'll come back up just a little bit closer. Let's go back to the home position. And you can see here those showers that are moving on over to the east. Nothing really major going on with those right now. But as we widen out, you can see more action that is up to the north. This is what we showed you at the top of the newscast as this moisture is moving out with the snow that is in association with that. We're not going to have to worry about that here. We're just watching the tail end of this where we have that potential for a couple of lighter showers here as we continue through the nighttime hours. Now, as you take a look at that, the frontal boundary that is stalled out over our area is going to continue to have a little bit of moisture with it. So we still have the potential for a few more showers to develop here tomorrow. Tonight, mainly dry with those lighter showers on the south side. But once we get into tomorrow, tomorrow. Watch this moisture as it begins moving back up toward the north. So we're going to continue with the rain chance in our area. I think the heaviest activity will be down to the south, but early tomorrow, better chance for rain showers and then scattered stuff throughout the rest of the day. We'll talk more about that and show you another model with another timeline of that coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Coming up, a home destroyed by flames, but firefighters managed to save one piece of the house the family could never get back. Details are coming up after the break.
We've got some breaking news out of Auburn right now. The end of a SWAT standoff where a suspect who led officers on a chase has now been arrested. Police tell us that it started when the suspect led officers on the chase that ended in a subdivision on Gladiola Drive in Auburn. That suspect then ran into a family's home. There was a brief standoff. The suspect was eventually arrested without any incident further. The family was able to escape. No one got hurt in that. We are still following this story, still gathering more information, and you can follow it as well as we update it periodically on 11alive.com. Meantime, a family in Rome is thanking firefighters from the Rome-Floyd County Fire Department for saving their most important possessions. After a fire last Thursday, the Corley family is now looking for a new place to live, but they tell our reporter Joe Henke that everyone escaped safely.
And as they waited outside, they were relieved to find out that firefighters grabbed their grandfather's American flag and World War II medals just before they would have been destroyed by the flames. Joe?
Well, Jeff and Brenda, this family, very thankful everyone's safe tonight. They say that is most important. David Corley tells me this flag, though, sat on top of his grandfather's casket at his funeral, and he proudly displayed it next to his service medals. He believes last Thursday firefighters went above and beyond. Step inside David Corley's home and you smell smoke in the air and soot on the ground.
It was mainly up there on the mantle.
He is pointing to where the fire was spreading as firefighters gained control of the flames. It is also where the American flag from his grandfather's funeral sat in a shadow box, along with medals and other memories.
This is one of the rounds from the 21-gun salute.
Forrest Clifford Corley, a World War II prisoner of war, rarely discussed his time serving in the Army Air Corps. For David, as an Army veteran himself and part of a military family, this flag connects him to his grandfather.
My grandfather, myself, my nephew, my mom, my dad, my stepdad, the millions of current and former, they served for that flag.
With the fire under control, firefighters began looking for anything they could save. The corners of the flag were already on fire.
When they brought the flag out to us, we just took care of it and extinguished it.
Paramedics Philip Little and Todd Twilley were handed the flag from firefighters. They quickly put out the fire on the flag and protected the medals. They say they were just doing their job.
I believe if I'd done the same thing any other firefighter or other veteran or anybody that's in this line of work would have done, tried to save something for the family.
His knife with the World War II logo.
But David says their job was to put out the fire, and they went out of their way to help a family in pain.
They went above and beyond. I can't thank him enough.
Now, because this flag is burned on the edges, David tells me he will need to retire it out of respect to the American flag. Once they find a new home, he plans to display a new one in his father's memory alongside the medals firefighters saved. Jeff?
Joe, thank you. Still ahead, we have an update to our Charlie Foxtrot series. How people like you are helping our nation's veterans.
Also ahead, more and more drivers are reporting issues from metal plates in Atlanta's roadways. They are so annoying. How the city plans to keep drivers aware of problem areas.
Plus, it's crunch time for places like FedEx. We are getting a behind-the-scenes look at how they get packages on your doorstep before Christmas.
All right, turn our attention to the weather again. Typical Atlanta, where it's just frigid cold one day and then it's 60 the next.
And of course, you get to this point in December and you have these days that are really dark. I mean, the cloud cover was such that it really felt very dark. I wanted to get back in bed today most of the while.
I was one of those. I wanted to get back in bed, too. It just kind of gives you that feeling of like that's all you want to do is crawl back in bed. Now, we saw a little bit of sun trying to break through late this afternoon in some spots, especially in northwest Georgia. On the south side, more clouds around, and we're tracking a few light showers. You can see those that we're watching right now. This is nothing major at all. In fact, remember yesterday, I was telling you that the rainfall amounts today would be very unimpressive. We only picked up a trace of rain at Hartsfield-Jackson, and now we have just a little bit more that's coming into areas just on the south side, pretty much south of I-20. You can see those right down here, just south of Atlanta. A few of those just moving through. Nothing really major with these. And then if we widen on out and look back out to the west, there's not much else coming except for this over parts of central Alabama. There's a frontal boundary that is stalled out, and since it is stalled out, it's going to send a little bit more of that moisture a little bit closer to us. So that's what we're going to be watching as we go through the next few days here, with some of that moisture getting back up into our area here, with the rain chance returning to our area tomorrow. So take a look out there right now. You can see what we're watching. This is in northwest Georgia, up in Rome. We're looking toward the west. They're seeing a few more breaks in the clouds, and there's the sun going down right there on the horizon. So they were able to see a little bit of that sunshine breaking through. Look what happened to the temperatures today. After that frigid weekend, we got up into the 60s. We topped off at 64 degrees out there today. Right now it's 62. It is a little cooler north and east of the city, where we've got 57 in Clayton, 53 in Blairsville. That wedge finally breaking, but it's a warmer 64 in LaGrange. All right, here's what we're watching as we go through the rest of the next 12 hours through the evening. We're going to see a pretty good coverage of clouds around, maybe just a few breaks in those clouds, but temperatures remain on the mild side. With all this moisture that we have in place, we'll be moving down into the 50s as we go through the late night hours, and overnight still in those lower 50s and even some upper 40s by tomorrow morning. But here you see that rain chance coming back in the morning. That's with that moisture from the south still riding along that stalled out front to give us another rain chance tomorrow. So we're going to go with another 5 on the wasometer. It'll be mild in the morning at 47. Getting up to 57 degrees in the afternoon. Here's the forecast track showing how tonight we may even see those clouds break up a little bit before that moisture from the south begins to move back up toward the north. So remember that frontal boundary, it is stalled out. It's just going to send a little bit of some waves of moisture along that. So in the morning, the drive into work is going to be a little soggy with some showers around, maybe even some moderate rain with this first wave that moves through. Once that pushes out, still behind it, we'll have just a few spotty, generally light showers. That'll be with us off and on during the day with the good coverage of clouds around. I still think that the better coverage of rain and more moderate and even some heavy rain is going to be down to the south. And then look what happens on Wednesday. Slight chance of a shower early, then we clear out and we'll see a relatively dry day here during the day on Wednesday. Here's a look at the rain totals. Now, they've been unimpressive so far today, but into tomorrow morning, again, south of I-20, those are the areas that'll see those better rain chances and the better rainfall amounts. North of I-20, a little lower amounts. Here in Atlanta, we'll be right on the line, maybe a half inch or maybe a little bit more for that next wave that comes in early tomorrow. So here's what we're watching, another round of showers overnight tonight, mainly early tomorrow, and then just scattered showers for the rest of the day. And then early Wednesday, the potential for a lingering shower, but then clearing out with a high of 56. Look at that. We get cold Thursday and Friday, a high of 45 Thursday, down to 28 Friday morning with a high of 43. And then Saturday, this is where it gets interesting. Some models indicating the potential for a little winter mix, maybe some brief icing up in northeast Georgia Saturday morning with temperatures near freezing and moisture in place, but it won't last long, because it gets into the 50s in the afternoon hours, and then 60s on Sunday with even a better chance for rain moving in and then clearing out by Monday.
Chris, thank you. A number of our viewers have spoken out, and now lawmakers are delivering. On Thursday, Congress passed a bill supported by more than 12,000 of you after seeing the 11 Alive docuseries Charlie Foxtrot.
Well, tonight we want to take you on our journey to Washington, where local vets played a big role in passing an act of Congress.
How's it going, guys?
Chris.
What's up, brother?
Great to see you.
Meet you, man. Hey.
Yeah, please, by all means. Nicholas, Chris, so glad to introduce you guys.
Pleasure.
I'm Peggy.
Hey.
Nice to meet you. Let's get in there.
All right.
Let's take it inside.
I'd like to welcome you to the United States Capitol in this viewing and preview of Charlie Foxtrot.
Brian loved being on stage. Me, not so much. But I forced myself. I am his voice. I have to be here to tell his story.
I know others are going to see this, and they're going to say, he did it. Why can't I? It's going to give them the hope to hold on one more day, one more month, one more year. Since this special has aired all over the entire country, we were coming across stories just like us.
But the way that we're pushed out of the military, we leave with such immense shame. And hopefully, Charlie Foxtrot is going to change that.
What we're trying to do is to go back and to reverse these discharges, to get access to care.
We've been telling stories like Christopher's for the past 5 months. These are more than 12,000 names of people who saw Charlie Foxtrot, and they're supporting you and Fairness for Veterans, your bill. So we want to hand these over to you for safekeeping.
It's great to see this kind of outpouring of support. This is from all across the country. People who realize that this is truly about basic fairness, and it's about justice.
The yeas are 92 and the nays are 7. The conference report is agreed to.
I guarantee you nothing would have happened without you guys. It would have blown back over like everything with the veterans bills before. So you guys, you changed so many. Changed history.
This is unbelievable. Nothing passes this quick.
We're getting ready for the president to sign it into law, and you had an impact.
Luke was probably one of the greatest souls, one of the greatest people. He nearly had a smile at all times. Here I am with my stuff. He stands alone. We got to get others like me to talk. How many of our guys have gone through the same feelings and they haven't said anything? People in this cemetery, they didn't go out giving up. They went out fighting. And if we got to do that till death, that's what we do. And we will get back to where we were, but better. It's no longer an anxiety anymore. It's a hope.
The Veterans Fairness Act, the bill, is currently on President Obama's desk, where it is expected to be signed into law as soon as this week. Now, for more on these veterans, you can watch our entire series at missioncharliefoxtrot.com.
Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms officials are finished with their investigation at the site of the warehouse fire in Northern California and Oakland. People began making makeshift memorials closer to the burned-out building yesterday after officials removed a barrier. The December 2nd fire at the so-called Ghost Ship warehouse claimed 36 lives, and the cause of the fatal fire still is not known. ATF officials are expected to announce their findings at a news conference tomorrow.
Well, 5 boats were destroyed in an early morning fire at a marina just outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Neighbors reported hearing an explosion before then seeing flames. Firefighters were called to the marina shortly before 3 in the morning. Several windows in a nearby church were shattered from that explosion. Fortunately, though, there were no reports of injuries.
What is adding up to be a major source of complaints for Atlanta drivers, those metal plates that we all know so well and loathe, are used to cover up holes in the road. Now, one driver says he was left limping away with a flat tire after running over one on Moreland Avenue. That's where we find Jerry Carnes, our commuter dude, holding the powerful accountable.
The repair work on this section of Moreland Avenue was almost finished on the day we joined Jerome Jones here.
It was right there up on me.
He wanted to show us the spot that looked nothing like this on the day he lost a tire here.
But the front left part of it was left exposed.
Instead of rough concrete,
I have the green light.
Jerome found 2 metal plates covering a hole that was 4 inches deep. Only the plates didn't completely cover the hole.
I couldn't stop in time, and I hit it, and there was a loud bang, and I immediately heard my tire pop.
On the same stretch of Moreland, he saw 2 others changing flat tires. City crews repaired a water main break here. The plates that were supposed to cover a work in progress moved with all the traffic on this busy street.
Is there any better way to secure them?
Not that we know of.
The city's Department of Watershed Management secures plates with asphalt.
We can't use things like nails or large pieces of metal because the vibrations of the cars going over the plates would jostle those out and create a bigger safety hazard.
Is it a situation where crews need to check on them more often?
One of the things that we're looking at that's going to make the biggest difference is speeding up our process on picking them back up.
Which doesn't help Jerome Jones.
I'm only trying to get reimbursed for the flat tire at this point.
He wants the city to pay for the damage done by the metal plates that failed to protect him.
Last year, 23 people filed claims with the city for $19,000 worth of damage. And so far, the city has developed a tracking system so that employees can do a better job of keeping up with those metal plates that we all can't stand. That system will soon go online where the public can see it.
Well, we're still working on more stories coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. New details about the Georgia woman accused of shooting and killing her boyfriend outside his mother's home. Detectives say that she shot the 33-year-old boyfriend and minister during an argument in April. Now, coming up, we'll tell you the reason why the district attorney has decided to drop the murder charge against her. Also ahead, we finally now know the giant panda twins' names 100 days after they were born at Zoo Atlanta. We'll have the big reveal. That and more coming up at 6.
We look forward to that. Package delivery services are hitting their holiday rush. Coming up, a look at how FedEx is pulling off a record year and when you need to ship to make sure that your packages arrive right before Christmas.